Hello class, today we are going over example equation problems. So these are going to be the word problems that you guys were given, as well as going over how to solve them, and I want to make sure everybody is clear on this. So let's look at this first question here. We're going to be going over it and we're going to see what we can turn this word problem into. Every word problem can become a number problem, and it's because they contain numbers in it. So for example, let's highlight some of the numbers. Darby bought a soft drink for $4. So he bought a soft drink for $4. Excellent. That's one soft drink, $4. And 4 candy bars. But we don't know the candy bars. It doesn't tell us the price yet. He spent a total of $24. How much did each candy bar cost? So look at that. We got lots and lots of problems here. The first problem is, we don't know how to write this out in numbers. How am I supposed to solve this in words? I can't. I have to use numbers. My second problem is, I don't know how much he spent on each candy bar. Look at, that's the question right there. So, if we're doing this, mind you, I highlighted a lot of this, but let's look at this part. This part that I'm highlighting in, oops, I already used green. This part that I'm highlighting in pink. It says, how much does each candy bar cost? What is that part that I'm highlighting in pink? What is that part of this word problem? Fernando says it is X. Angelo says it is the unknown. Exactly. It is the unknown. It is the variable. It is the X, Y, Z, A, B, C, heart, smile, star. It is anything. X is the easiest to use. I advise you say X. So thank you, Fernando, Angelo, and Angel for giving me that. Exactly. So we know how much did each candy bar cost. How many candy bars did he buy? How many candy bars did he buy in this problem? Yeah, so he bought 4, says Izzy, which I'm assuming everybody should know that. So I bought 1 candy bar, 2 candy bars, 3 candy bars, 4 candy bars. Awesome. And once again, this is kind of a trick question, but read what I wrote. How much does each candy bar cost? How much does each candy bar cost? And I'm not asking for a number yet. So I see what Ani's doing right there, and she's completely correct, but I can't see everybody's screens. So how much does it cost? Yes, Izzy and Ani who wrote that down, it costs X. Each candy bar so far costs X. We don't know how much it really costs. Wait a second. How many X's are there then? How many X's are there? There are 4 X's, yes, which means that it is 4X, means the total amount of money that we spent on candy bars, which makes sense. 4 candy bars at X amount each. Let's say that my candy bar cost $2 each. Let's just say, I don't know if that's the answer. If my candy bar cost $2 each, if I added them all together, it would cost $8. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 8. And if I plugged that 2 in here for X, 4 times 2 is 8. So that's how we get that 4X when we have X's for the amount that candy bars are equal to. But is that all Darby did? Is that all Darby did? No, says Christian. No, says Izzy. That's not all Darby did. What else did Darby do? He spent some money on a soft drink. How much money did he spend? So when we look here, he spent $4. Exactly. So he spent 4X on candy bars. 4X because we don't know how much yet, but we know he bought 4 and each cost X. And he spent, and means plus, $4 on a soft drink, right? Then, what's the key word to tell us what goes after the equal sign? Because I know every equation has an equal sign. But what is the key word and what goes after that equal sign? So how do I know of the highlighting? Mind you, I've already done the 3 highlighting. But what is it? So if we're looking at this, what's the key word? Yes, Izzy.
So the key words are in the yellow highlighted area. A total of $20.
Perfect. A total of $24. Exactly. So she identified that keyword being total, and she said 20 because she just didn't catch that hyphen, but that's okay, is $24. Hey, guess what? We are halfway done now. We are completely halfway done because what we've done now is we have identified our equation. Okay? So we have this equation right here, and I'm just going to move it up because I don't want to deal with it being down there because I want to have plenty of room to show our work. So our equation is 4x plus 4 equals 24. So that's how we wrote this equation right now. If you had written the equation where you got an equal x in the beginning, you would be wrong. We cannot get an equal x in the beginning. That's just solved the problem. That's just it. That's not writing an equation. When we write an equation, you must have a variable, an operation, a number, an equal sign, and another number. You can also have a number possibly in front of the variable. You might have certain things like that, but this is the formula that it follows. You need on one side the variable, operation, and a number, and on the other side, you have a number. That is how you write an equation. Notice how this follows suit. It follows variable, operation, number equals number. So far, we're all there. We followed along. We did that whole thing. So now, we got to isolate this variable. Isolate means I do eventually want to get it down to x equals. And now you're just saying to me, Ms. Diaz, you just said we don't want x equals. No, we don't want to start with x equals. That's the solve, not the equation. And writing the equation is half of the points. Solving it is the other half. So if you just give me the answer, then you're only going to get a 50%, which is an F. So then we have to solve this equation. Now I told you, are we going to be solving it with PEMDAS? When we have a variable, what do? Do we solve with PEMDAS with a variable? Yes, Fernando got it correct. The thing that I love to say is SADMEP. All SADMEP is that's PEMDAS backwards. PEMDAS. It is just PEMDAS backwards. Essentially, because we have a variable and we're trying to solve for the variable, it makes us sad because there's so much work, so we do SADMEP. That's how we'll say it. So we do SADMEP. So first things first, as we know though, the S and the A are the same thing. The M and the D are the same thing, so they're different. Exactly. So let's look at this first step that we do. Do we have subtraction or addition happening in this problem? Yes, we see it. Plus 4. Whenever we have something, we do the opposite of the operation. Just like how this is the opposite of PEMDAS down here in the bottom, we do the opposite of the operation. I'm going to not do that because I'm going to fix it somehow. So when we do this, we do the opposite of the operation. Like I said, just like this is the opposite of PEMDAS, we do the opposite of the operation. So we have subtraction or addition. Perfect, we got addition. We do the opposite. So I'm going to do minus 4. Awesome, I'm done, right? So I get 4x equals 24 because I made that 4 go away. Cool, I made it go away. Right? I see some people over there shaking their heads. What I did wrong is I only did it to one side because we know what you do to one side,
you do the other.
Yes, excellent, my lovely, lovely class. What we do to one side, we do to the other. So I have to do minus 4 equals minus 4. Same on both sides then. Same exact on both sides. So plus 4 minus 4. That cancels out. That's gone. So then I just have to bring my problem down. Now I just have 4x on this side. I still have my equal sign, and 24 take away 4 is 20. Awesome. I handled there's no more subtraction or addition. Perfect. Do I have division or multiplication in this problem? Do I have it? So Izzy says yes, but I don't see a multiplication or division sign. I don't see a multiplication or division sign, but is there still multiplication or division? Look at this. Fernando and Angel still say yes, there is multiplication, even though I don't see a multiplication or division sign. You want to know why there still is? Who can tell me why there still is multiplication going on? So exactly, when a number is touching to something, it means multiplication. So right here, we see that 4 touching that X, getting all nice and cozy, giving it a hug. It means multiplication. If we saw 4 in a parentheses, it would mean multiplication. If we see things like that, when numbers are touching the variable, it means multiplication. So we do the opposite. So I'm going to divide this side by 4. What you do to one side, you do to the other. So I'm going to divide that side by 4. Another way you could write it, dividing by 4, just so you know, is the same as multiplying by 1/4. It's the same thing. Because look, this is 4 over 1, and that's 1 over 4. So they cancel out. They are reciprocals. So I divide by 4 on each side. See how divide by 4 equals divide by 4? Notice how each of my steps have -4 equals -4. Divide by 4 equals divide by 4, whatever it is. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. So it goes away, and I'm just left with X. Because 1X is X. 1 Izzy is just Izzy. 1 Miss Diaz is just Miss Diaz. And 20 divided by 4 is 5. So each candy bar cost $5. Let's look at this one. James Patterson has written 21 times the amount of books than the Harry Potter series. If Patterson has written 147 books, how many books are in the Harry Potter series? So first things first, we want to identify our unknown. We want to identify our unknown. So I'm going to highlight in several different colors the information we have. James Patterson has written 21 times the amount of books than in the Harry Potter series. Awesome. That's one piece of information. Then, Patterson has written 147 books. That's one piece of information. Notice that at every punctuation, it's a new piece of information. Because here was a period, here's a comma at every piece, and then lastly, how many books are in the Harry Potter series? So I've highlighted everything at each punctuation. Which is our unknown? The red, the orange, or the yellow? The red, the orange, or the yellow in this? So I see Fernando says yellow, Jasmine says yellow, exactly. It's asking our question. Isis says yellow, Izzy says yellow. It's asking that question, how many? How many means we don't know. It means X, right? So, how many books are in the Harry Potter series? What number is going to match with the Harry Potter series? So we're going to have some number. We're going to have X over here, some operation and some number, and then there's going to be some number. So, I'm going to see. Ready? I'm going to put multiplication, divide, add, subtract, and I'm going to put a number here, possibly is equal to a number, right? It's not always that order. Sometimes X comes first. Remember, if it says less than, it means after and stuff like that. But if we're looking at this. So, first, this might be easier. What's on the other side of the equal sign? What's all alone on the other side of that equal sign? So what's all alone? So once you figured out what the variables are, there's only 2 numbers left in this equation right here, 21 and 147. So we got to figure out, is it going to be equal to 147 or is it going to be equal to 21? Yes, Fernando, Izzy, Jasmine, Angel, Hannah, and Ani, it is 147. Because we know here, typically too, notice how there's the comma. It's one sentence. So it's the if, then, right? So we have that. So something X equals 147. Hey, what am I going to do to the X? Now let's see. We've already addressed the orange part. We've already addressed the yellow part, so we might want to be addressing the red part. What am I going to do to the X? What is the key word that's happening to that x right there? So, exactly as Izzy wrote, it's 21 times x, or just 21x. The exact same thing right there. So 21x equals 147. Now, we again follow SADMEP. But again, we go along. Subtraction, addition, division, multiplication. Do we have subtraction, addition in this problem? If you say yes, you are wrong. The answer is no. We see no plus sign. We see no minus sign. So we don't need to deal with them. Do we see any division or multiplication in this problem? Just like we did on the last one. Yes, this 21 times x. So I'm going to do the opposite. Divide by 21 is equal to divide by 21. Perfect. I cancel that out. And all now that's left on this side. Notice that now this is gone. All that's left is x. So all I'm going to get is an x equals. In this case, I don't care enough that we can use our calculator to divide because it really doesn't matter to me. You have to know how to do the steps. So if we used our calculator, 147 divided by 21 is 7. Additionally, you can check your work two ways. One, by plugging that back into the equation, which is the proper way to check it. And two, because there are 7 books in the Harry Potter series. Like, that's just the truth right there. Let's look at this next problem. Ramona sold half of her comic book collection and then bought 7 more. She now has 17. How many did she have to begin with? So let's split this up. Ramona sold half her comic book collection. Even though it says something, there's an operation word here. This is an and, so I'm going to split it up, even though it still could work. Then bought 7 more. Perfect. Still all kind of encapsulated in the same thing. All of this is still the same piece of information. I highlighted our word and, because we know what it means. What does and mean here? What does and mean? Perfect. And means plus. If you have a brother and a sister, it's brother plus sister for the number of siblings you have. If you ate a brownie and cake, you ate both of them. You added them to your tum-tum. So, that's add. She now has 17. Awesome. Then we ended right there. We had a period. We had our punctuation. How many did she begin with? So I highlighted everything. What is our variable? Which color is our variable here? Which color is our variable? Yes, Izzy, Isis, and Fernando said the blue. Exactly. It says how many. That's a pretty good indicator. Since we don't know what it's talking about, it's the unknown. How many? I don't know. Hey, that's the unknown. It's pretty easy to figure that one out when it asks a question sentence. So, we have something x. How many did she begin with? We don't know. So she had x. We have our equal sign. What is our equal sign equal to? When we do this, what is it going to be equal to? Exactly. So we see she now has 17. So what her collection is equal to is 17. Then we have to go through it. We have to go through it again in order of left to right. Ramona sold half her comic book. So if I sell half of something, I take half of it. Two ways I could write that. Multiply it by half or divide it by 2. Because that means half. If I cut a cake into 2 pieces, if I got my cake and I cut it into 2 pieces, each piece is 1/2. I divided my cake by 2, and it's 1/2. But then I bought 7 more. I don't need parentheses because we would still be following it, but I just want to make sure that you guys don't think that they're together. Now we follow SADMEP. Do we have any addition or subtraction in this problem? Yes, we do. We have plus 7. So I do the opposite. Minus 7 equals minus 7. Notice I show my work. This is how you have to do it. Minus 7 is minus 7. 7 minus 7, that's gone. Now I'm left with x divided by 2 equals, and 17 minus 7 is 10. Perfect. Done with those two. Do I have any division or multiplication? Yes, it is x divided by 2. So since we're doing divide, we do the opposite. Times 2 is equal to times 2. You could also have written times 2 like that. Either way works as long as I see that you do it on both sides. Divide by 2 times 2. What's 2 divided by 2? It's 1. So we're just left with 1x or x equals. What's 10 times 2? It is 20. Awesome. So in the beginning, she has 20. We check our work. 20. She sold half her comic book collection. Half of her comic book collection is 10, so now she has 10. Then she bought 7 more, and now she has 17. Hey, did that work? Yes! So we now know that it's correct. Here's one that a lot of you guys had a little bit of difficulty with. Some of them like this. Scout had $24 to spend on 7 pencils. After buying them, she had $10. How much did each pencil cost? So I'm going to highlight up until the punctuation. Period. Period. Question mark. That's all I did. Highlighted the punctuation. What color is our unknown in this case? What color is our variable? What color is x? So here, how much did each pencil cost? The yellow, exactly. How much? We don't know how much. It's the unknown. So, Scout had $24 to spend on 7 pencils. After buying them, she had $10. How much did each pencil cost? So I have to have a number. I have to have a operation. I have my variable somewhere, and then I have to have it equal to a number. So, this is where it's interesting. This is where it's tricky, okay? Scout had $24 to spend on 7 pencils. After buying them, she had $10. How much did each pencil cost? So this one's tricky. I want you guys to think about it on your own for a sec. Come up with an equation and maybe write it in the chat and we'll talk about them because this one's tricky. Here's the first question. What number goes on that side? We technically have 3 numbers in this problem if we're looking. We have $24, we have 7 pencils, and we have $10. So we have 3 numbers in that section. But what is the number that's going to be going on the right-hand side of our equal sign? Is it going to be the 24? Is it going to be the 7? Or is it going to be the 10? Izzy says 10. Do we have anybody in agreement? Do we have anybody in disagreement? What do we say? Yes, it is 10. So we know this because it says after buying them, she had $10. So at the end, she's left with $10. At the end, she is equal to $10. That's what her money is equal to. So now on the other side, we know we're going to have some numbers. We're going to have a 24, we're going to have a 7, and somewhere we're going to have an X. And we have to have operations happening. Every time we see a number itself, that means an operation. So we're going to be having 2 different operations here. What do you think we're going to be doing? So when you're spending something, what are you doing? When we spend, are we adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? When we spend. Yes, when we spend, we are subtracting. So let's go left from right. Start here, left side. Scout had $24. Perfect. 24 to spend on 7 pencils. But I can't just put 7 because 24 minus 7 doesn't equal 10. Wait, what am I missing in my equation? What is the biggest point of this entire thing that I'm missing in my equation? What am I missing? I am missing the x. Where does my x go? With which number? With which number does my x go? Izzy says 7, and she is correct because each pencil costs 7, and there are 7 pencils. Each pencil costs 7, and there are 7 pencils. So it's that multiplying, because like I said before, if we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pencils and they each cost X, it would be 7X. So now, we're looking at this, and it's a little bit different. So now, if we follow SADMEP, this is why I wanted to do this one. You're going to be a little bit confused at first. Do we have any subtraction or addition? We do, but it's not necessarily the first one that you might think of. It's not the first one that you might think of. So this is why it's tricky. It's not the first one that you might think of. Here's a better question. Do we have multiplication or division happening? So we see we have multiplication happening right here. And remember, we always include the operation in front of the number. So technically, this right here all counts as multiplication. I know, weird, right? We see that negative, we're multiplying by a negative. So this one right here is our addition or subtraction. It is a positive 24. How do I get rid of a positive 24, you guys? How do I get rid of a positive 24? You subtract 24 from both sides. Excellent. This is why this was a tricky one, because there's a couple ways that we can organize this problem. I'll show you the next way in a second. 24 minus 24 goes away. I am now left with negative 7x equals. This is tricky. 10 minus 24. I have $10. I spend $24. How much money do I have left now? Or better yet, how much money do I owe? Right? Because I spent more money than I have. So now I'm in debt. Now I owe money. When we owe money, it's a negative. When we owe money, it's a negative because our bank account's in a negative balance. And how much money do I owe in this case? 10 minus 24. So when we do this, if we used our number line, if we did that, we would get negative 14. Exactly. So now I've got negative 7x equals negative 14. I'm going to give you guys a hint. A negative and a negative make a what? When you multiply negatives and negatives, when you divide negatives and negatives, not when you add or subtract, but when you're multiplying or dividing, a negative and a negative make a positive. Exactly, Izzy, exactly, Fernando. Hey, isn't this multiplication? So I'm going to be multiplying with a negative. I'm multiplying a negative by a negative, which means they're just going to become positive. There we go. I'm already just going to fix that for us right there. Then it's 7x. I'm going to divide by 7. I'm going to divide by 7. If we looked at it the other way without changing it from negatives, if we kept the negatives, divide by negative 7. It's equal to divide by negative 7. Negative 7 divided by negative 7 goes away. It becomes 1 because that's what it is. And then here, negative 14 divided by negative 7. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. So I get x equals, and 14 divided by 7 is 2. So then we check once again. I have $24 to spend on 7 pencils. Each pencil costs $2, so 7 pencils costs $14. If I have 24 and I take away 14, I'm left with 10. Our math works out. So that is how we do that one. Here, we saw this one. Scout sold half her comic books and then bought 16 more. How many did she have to begin? So when we see this, I'm just going to run through this one because we did pretty much the same problem. So I highlight as we go for each sentence. So, Scout sold half her comic book and then bought 16 more. I'm also going to super highlight this and because we know it means plus. Next one. She now has 36. Remember, I end at my punctuation. Here, the next one. With how many did she begin? Look at how fancy. With how many did she begin? What color is our unknown? What color is our unknown? Yes, Isis, it is green. Excellent. Whenever it asks our question, it's typically at the end we do that. It is our unknown. Scout sold half her comic book collection. So, she had her comic book collection. She sold half. Then she bought 16 more, and she now has 36. See how I just went from left to right following that equation once I identified it? I literally just read it and plugged in the numbers without the words. Here's how much she has. Sold half, added 16, total is 36. Then I just follow SADMEP. SADMEP. Do we have addition subtraction? Yes. Plus 16 minus 16 equals minus 16. That goes away. I am now left with x over 2, or x divided by 2. Same exact thing. So I've got x over 2 here is equal to 36 minus 16 is 20. Perfect. No more addition subtraction. Now I've got x divided by 2. So I do the opposite. Multiply by 2. Multiply by 2. And I get those cancel. So I am left with x equals 20 times 2 is 40. You go back, you plug it in, you check. 40, I sell half. I'm left with 20. I buy 16 more, I have 36. Hey, look, that worked out. This one is tricky. The sum of 3 consecutive numbers is 87. What is the smallest of the 3 numbers? If you stayed, we did a quick thing on consecutive numbers. Consecutive means numbers that come in a row. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 20, 21, 22, just 2. They're just numbers that come straight in a line. They follow one another. So if I said my smallest, what is the smallest? I'm going to say that's x, because it asks that. So I've got x. My next number is x plus 1. Because if I add the numbers 3, 4, and 5, if x was 3, I get to 4 by adding 1 to x. How do I get to 5? I add 2 to x. And I only have 3 consecutive numbers, so I only need to worry about those 3 numbers. And I know it's equal to is 87. What is the special thing I have to do right here? I'll give you a hint. It starts with combine. Yes, Jenna, combine like terms. So if it has a variable that's the same, we can combine it. Those all have x's. Here we've got a 1 and here we've got a 2. So let's combine it. How many x's do we have? 1, 2, 3. So I have 3x. What are my numbers? I've got a positive 1 and a positive 2. Remember, you always have to pay attention to the operation happening in front of your number and or variable. 1, positive 1 plus 2 is 3. Stay, 87. There we go. We just followed the same steps as before. SADMEP, subtraction, addition, minus 3 on both sides. We get 3x equals 87 minus 3 is 84. Then, this is 3 times x, so I do divide by 3 on each side. If I do it, I'm just using my calculator because this division part is not the most important. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I get x equals, and 84 divided by 3 is 28. The way you would check with consecutive numbers is, if it would be 28 is the smallest, the next is 29, the next is 30. Can somebody add those 3 numbers together for me and tell me what those 3 numbers equal? Yes, Nathan added them together and he got 87. Hey, look at, that's what we were going for, getting that 87. So we have proved here by adding the consecutive numbers, the numbers that just go straight in order, that it's 87. One more problem to look at. Claire spent half her weekly allowance playing arcade games. To earn more money, her parents let her clean the oven for $7. what is her weekly allowance if she ended with $12? So let's highlight as we go. So Claire spent half her weekly allowance playing arcade games. To earn more money, her parents let her clean the oven for $7. What is her weekly allowance if she ended with $12? So, what is the variable here? What is our variable? We already know what color it is because we know that it's got our question word. But what exactly is it? Are we looking for the money she spent? Are we looking for how much the arcade games cost? What are we looking for? What are we trying to solve for? As Chase R said, we are looking for her weekly allowance. Exactly, what is her weekly allowance? So that is our X. If she ended with $12, what do I do with that 12? Where does that 12 go? Who can tell me? So here, we ended with $12, which means her money at the end is equal to $12. So in the end, at the end, as Fernando said, she has $12. Look, I'm just going left to right. She ended with, at the end, equal to $12. So we know her weekly allowance is X. Let's go left to right. We'll start at the top. Claire spent half her weekly allowance. You spend half, you're dividing by 2. Allowance playing arcade games. To earn more money, her parents let her clean the oven for $7. If they are letting me earn money, I am adding that $7. So this is our equation. Because now we've filled in all of our numbers. And then the last step we have to follow is SADMEP. Let's go. Addition, subtraction. We have plus 7. So we do minus 7 on each side. 7 minus 7. That goes away. I am left with X divided by 2 is equal to 12 minus 7 is 5. Now, I have division multiplication. Hey, I've got division right there, so I'm going to do the opposite. Times 2 equals times 2. If I have 2 divided by 2, that goes away, and I am left with X equals. And what is 5 times 2? What's 5 times 2? Yes, Chris, it is 10. So her weekly allowance is $10. We'd check by plugging it in. She spent half of $10. Half of $10 is 5. Then she got $7 more. 5 plus 7 is 12. There we go. That's how we check our problems. Thank you, class.